Drink the soup. Obeying him, she drank between gasping breaths. After a second cup, she allowed him to lead her up to their room. She was docile now and more restrained. He laid her nightgown on the bed and was about to leave the room when a fresh round of grief, the alcoholic tumult, came again. He turned away. My auntie looked at me and turned away. Impatience and fatigue hardened his voice, but he spoke warily. You forget that Andy is still a little child. He can't comprehend the meaning of such scenes. Did I make a scene? Oh, Martin, did I make a scene before the children? Her horrified face touched and amused him against his will. Forget it. Put on your nightgown and go to sleep. My child turned away from me. Andy looked at his mother and turned away. The children... She was caught in the rhythmic sorrow of alcohol. Martin withdrew from the room, saying, For God's sake, go to sleep. The children will forget by tomorrow. As he said this, he wondered if it was true. Would the scene glide so easily from memory, or would it root in the unconscious to fester in the after years? Martin did not know, and the last alternative sickened him. He thought of Emily, foresaw the morning after humiliation, the shards of memory, the lucidities that glared from the obliterating darkness of shame. She would call the New York office twice, possibly 3 or 4 times. Martin anticipated his own embarrassment, wondering if the others at the office could possibly suspect. He felt that his secretary had divined the trouble long ago and that she pitied him. He suffered a moment of rebellion against his fate. He hated his wife. Once in the children's room, he closed the door and felt secure for the first time that evening. Marianne fell down on the floor, picked herself up, and calling, "Daddy, watch me," fell again, got up, and continued the falling calling routine. Andy sat in the child's low chair, wobbling the tooth. Martin ran the water in the tub, washed his own hands in the lavatory, and called the boy into the bathroom. "Let's have another look at that tooth." Martin sat on the toilet, holding Andy between his knees. The child's mouth gaped, and Martin grasped the tooth. A wobble, a quick twist, and the nacreous milk tooth was free. Andy's face was for the first moment split between terror, astonishment, and delight. He mouthed a swallow of water and spat into the lavatory. "Look, Daddy, it's blood! Marianne!" Martin loved to bathe his children, loved inexpressibly the tender, naked bodies as they stood in the water so exposed. It was not fair of Emily to say that he showed partiality. As Martin soaped the delicate boy body of his son, he felt that further love would be impossible. Yet, he admitted the difference in the quality of his emotions for the 2 children. His love for his daughter was graver, touched with the strain of melancholy, a gentleness that was akin to pain. His pet names for the little boy were the absurdities of daily inspiration. He called the little girl always Marianne, and his voice as he spoke it was a caress. Martin patted dry the fat baby stomach and the sweet little genital fold. The washed child faces were radiant as flower petals, equally loved. "I'm putting the tooth under my pillow. I'm supposed to get a quarter." What for? You know, Daddy, Johnny got a quarter for his tooth. Who puts the quarter there? Asked Martin. I used to think the fairies left it in the night. It was a dime in my day, though. That's what they say in kindergarten. Who does put it there? Your parents, Andy said. You! Martin was pinning the cover on Marianne's bed. His daughter was already asleep, scarcely breathing. Martin bent over and kissed her forehead, kissed again the tiny hand that lay palm upward, flung in slumber beside her head. Good night, Andy man. The answer was only a drowsy murmur. After a minute, Martin took out his change and slid a quarter underneath the pillow. He left a nightlight in the room. As Martin prowled about the kitchen making a late meal, it occurred to him that the children had not once mentioned their mother or the scene that must have seemed to them incomprehensible. Absorbed in the instant, the tooth, the bath, the quarter, the fluid passage of child time had worn these weightless episodes like leaves in the swift current of a shallow stream, while the adult enigma was beached and forgotten on the shore. Martin thanked the Lord for that. But his own anger, repressed and lurking, arose again. His youth was being frittered by a drunkard's waste, his very manhood subtly undermined. And the children, once the immunity of incomprehension passed, what would it be like in a year or so? With his elbows on the table, he ate his food brutishly, untasting. There was no hiding the truth. Soon there would be gossip in the office and in the town. His wife was a dissolute woman. Dissolute. And he and his children were bound to a future of degradation and slow ruin. Martin pushed away from the table and stalked into the living room. He followed the lines of a book with his eyes, but his mind conjured miserable images. He saw his children drowned in the river, his wife a disgrace on the public street. By bedtime, the dull, hard anger was like a weight upon his chest, and his feet dragged as he climbed the stairs. The room was dark except for the shafting light from the half-opened bathroom door. Martin undressed quietly. Little by little, mysteriously, there came in him a change. His wife was asleep, her peaceful respiration sounding gently in the room. Her high-heeled shoes with the carelessly dropped stockings made to him a mute appeal. Her underclothes were flung in disorder on the chair. Martin picked up the girdle and the soft silk brassiere and stood for a moment with them in his hands. For the first time that evening, he looked at his wife. His eyes rested on the sweet forehead, the arch of the fine brow. The brow had descended to Marianne, and the tilt at the end of the delicate nose. In his son, he could trace the high cheekbones and pointed chin. Her body was full-bosomed, slender and undulant. As Martin watched the tranquil slumber of his wife, the ghost of the old anger vanished. All thoughts of blame or blemish were distant from him now. Martin put out the bathroom light and raised the window. Careful not to awaken Emily, he slid into the bed. By moonlight, he watched his wife for the last time. His hand sought the adjacent flesh, and sorrow paralleled desire in the immense complexity of love.